In today's video, I'm going to be removing a door card on the Z3. Hello again, I'm Stephen from Auto Night. Welcome to another video on the Z3. Where today I'm going to be removing this door card because there's something missing from it. The bezel trim that goes around this release lever. I have a new trim right here from Febi Bilstein, and I also have the clips for the door card because they're very prone to breaking when you release them. And for those of you that are wondering why I'm taking a door trim off to do something as simple as fitting a trim like this, there's a reason. You see, it fits in with these little lugs here and it slots across, but there is an insufficient gap at the top here to allow them to locate, and there's an excessive gap at the bottom. So either this section here needs to be repositioned, if it can be, or the door trim needs to be moved slightly. Now I don't know exactly where the clips are on this door card, so it's going to be down to me to find out. You'll notice this airbag, which is actually behind here. So for this reason, I am going to disconnect the battery. This does mean I will have to re-enter the radio code, and I'll also have to reset the clock, but that's got to be better than an airbag going off in my face. Not that it's very likely. The risk would be purely theoretical. Note my tennis ball in here, which is securing the battery in place. You may remember the securing bolt sheared off right down in there where it fixes. I have got the new bolt, and that's another job on the list. Where you've got a door handle, there is usually a fixing behind something here, but this does not seem to be fixed. So I'm not going to have to remove this to investigate what's going on behind there. But there is a fixing under here. Note this has broken and it's been glued. Actually, it looks like double-sided tape. This is a T20. And because this doesn't seem to be fixed, it really is now a case of working around this door and releasing clips at intervals. And it's now just a case of lifting and releasing. And this is interesting. Now this is strange because there doesn't seem to be an airbag in here. Got some things to disconnect here. And the door card is now free. So we've got a couple of these that have torn out from the actual door card, and that's quite common. What tends to happen is the door card material, the cardboard, gets damp and then it just pulls away. So I need to remove these. And I can rebond those onto the door card. So I've got the door card in the garage, and you can immediately see where these would have been bonded. I'll fit those back on, that one there, and then that one there. But what's going on with the airbag? Why isn't it there? Surely it would have been the other side of this flap that was designed to spring open in the event of an accident. Terrible shadow of myself that I can't do much about, but that's just because of where the sun is. But I can see this has been disturbed in the past. Someone has made a good attempt to seal it up using some sort of dum-dum or whatever it's called. Okay, it hasn't been that well sealed, to be honest. I can do a better job than that when I put it back together. What are we going to find? This really is the stickiest stuff known to man. No airbag wiring. Maybe it wasn't meant to have one. I'm confused. I'm going to remove this in its entirety because I'm going to seal this up properly. I really want to get a good look in here and see what's going on. So what have we got going on here then? This wiring here is for the locking assemblies, speakers, electric mirrors. There's definitely no airbag wiring in here. Maybe it was never meant to have one, and door cards for vehicles with airbags were just fitted anyway. I'll check the spec list for this car. So I've now got the fun job of getting all this off, which I will. I think you know me by now. That'll have to all be gone before I put this back together. It should actually roll off reasonably easy. And I think this is a job to do without gloves, because I think having gloves for it to stick to will just compound the situation. This probably won't make very good TV, so I'm gonna pick all this off and come back to you when it's done. Everything here is beautifully clean. I know you would never expect any less. I've noticed that some of this wiring has come away from these clips here. There's usually fabric tape that holds that in place, much like this, where it's all coming apart. I'm going to redo that. This one. They have all been redone. Everything is beautifully clean. Now, while removing this adhesive from the actual door, the paintwork was reasonably easy. It is stuck to this door membrane like shit to a blanket. This is going to be much harder to remove. I had toyed with the idea of just getting a new one of these, and I've just got off the phone from the BMW dealer. How much do you think this would cost? Well, I'll tell you, 70 quid. And I was prepared to pay up to about 30 for this, but I can't justify spending 70, that's insane. So I am going to be trying to get this off here and then applying a bead of sealant and refitting it. And I've also uncovered another mystery as to whether or not this car should or shouldn't have airbags. It seems that passenger airbag isn't listed for this car on their system. I've also dug out some documents, the spec sheet and also one of the original sales sheets for this car. We can have a look now together. So I have here a sales sheet from way back in the day. I mean, this must have been a long time ago because the car was almost 20 grand. It only done 9,400 miles. This picture here, you may think, oh, it doesn't have those wheels. Well, it doesn't. It says it's for illustrative purposes only. And here is the spec on the car, and there is not a mention of side airbags. And that would have been quite a big deal back in the day because side airbags weren't as common as they are now. I also have this that I got printed out when I got the car. I got this printed out from the BMW dealer to go in with my V5 and my driving license, and that lists all the things that it had from new. Again, no mention there. So I think we can safely say that this car was never meant to have side airbags, and the door cards just lead you to believe that it has. And I think this door card is original, because looking here is the date, and it's in American format because these were built in the US, 8/28/98, so 28th of August 1998. So this is likely the original door card. There you go, you can see who it was made by. Albert Industries US Incorporated. Doesn't get much more American than that. While I was on the phone to BMW, I also ordered the missing screw or bolt, whatever it is, that goes behind here to hold this to the door. That'll firm that up a bit. And I also ordered this little airbag trim. Surprisingly, these are all available because that's got a little broken clip there. That way I won't have to stick that back on. As I said earlier, I've got a bag of new clips here so I can replace these fragile old clips. And I'm now going to mix up some Araldite and get these little beasts reattached. Just notice this will need to be rebonded too. This is coming away. That's not a problem, I can do that. Just remove those. Very brittle. And I'll remove these from here as well at the same time. These come with some sort of little rubber gasket type thing. I'll transfer those across. Attention to detail you just wouldn't get with cheaper brands. It's working out where this would have been originally, which I reckon was there. Gonna mark that with a pen, and then I can get rid of some of this to give it a good surface to bond. Araldite is like a proper old school glue. I remember my dad using this in the 80s when I was a kid, and he'd fix everything around the place with this. So you've got the actual glue itself, then you've got the hardener, and then you have to mix roughly equal quantities. There isn't much left of this actually, I'm going to have to get some more. If you overdo it with the hardener, it sets really quickly, and likewise if you don't put enough, you'll be waiting forever. I love the smell of this. It's probably pretty bad to say that. I'm not a glue sniffer, don't worry, but it's a proper childhood memory, this smell, from things being fixed. You can use a glue gun, but I've found when gluing interior components that the heat in the interior on a hot day is enough to actually allow it to fail. It does go off quite quickly, and you can feel it when it does, 'cause it's really tacky. I might have to make up a bit more actually. In fact, I definitely will. Just applying some weight. So I've just placed something heavy just to keep the pressure applied to those while that glue sets. Usually sets kind of usable strength within like an hour, but I've always liked to leave things I've glued with Araldite overnight. I've done the best I can with this, but I will say pulling the sticky glue off this can prove a little bit destructive to the foam, so I've had to be really careful. For those of you who saw the video where I took out this scuttle cover to check the plenum chamber, you may remember that I bought this butyl tape, and that's what I'm going to use to re-secure this door foil. And while we're in here, I'm going to take this opportunity to lubricate the window lifter mechanism, as they can be notoriously slow on these. Now I know there's no side airbag, there's no harm in me reconnecting the battery. Feeding a bead of this into this groove. Immensely sticky stuff, loves to stick to skin. With the bead of sealant neatly applied, I now just need to have a look at this, which is the whole reason for us doing this after all, and just see if there is any movement within this. I'm suspecting not, and I'm thinking that it was the positioning of the door card that was preventing that bezel from being fitted. Just a T20 here, and it's very clear to see that this simply slots in here. So you can't really get that wrong. It can only be fitted in one place. Let's pop that back. I'm now at the stage where I can refit this. Pass the wiring through. Now there are some little nubbins that stick out there that correspond with these recesses, which is a very nice touch. So you can get it in the right place. Just quickly refit that. The key to it really is in the preparation. And you know it's watertight. And you've done the job properly. You get some jobs done like this in a workshop, and because they're working on the clock, there would be nowhere near this amount of care taken over it. And you can't blame them, because they're paid that way. They need to get as much done as possible. The perimeter clips are all refitted. It really is now just a case of leaving this overnight so that these pieces that have been glued set properly. I certainly don't want them breaking away again. The switch here for the mirrors has been removed because we will need to gain access to that screw hole, and that screw is on order. And everything's ready on this side. I'm really happy with that. While this door card is off, I've had a thought. You see, this speaker grille here is really scruffy. It just doesn't look very nice. Now's probably a really good time to take that off and spray that with some satin black, or matte black I think actually. And this should be pretty easy to do because there's just that screw there in the centre of the screen. Let's get that undone. With that undone, it should just slot out, outwards and across, I think. Yeah, like that. Let's have a look on the other side. Now I think it would be the decent thing to do to take these little tweeters out so they don't get contaminated with paint. Little tiny T10s. This car seems to have quite a lot of speakers. It's got that Harman Kardon set up that I always say the wrong way round. I should be able to make a good job of that. Oh, do I do satin or do I do matte? I'm thinking matte, to be honest, not satin. I need to go to Halfords to get some. In the end I went to Screwfix rather than Halfords because I saw this for £9. It wasn't so far to drive. Shake for 2 minutes. Well, I hope you agree that looks a lot better. Any sort of blemishes you can see is actually the daylight showing through it. But that's matte black. That will no doubt dry as matte because it still looks a bit satin at the moment. But I'm going to keep that inside, let it dry at room temperature, then we can get things back together. For me, that'll be a different day. For you, that'll be a few seconds. It's now the next day. This has dried beautifully. Time to refit these little tweeters. This unit is now ready to be refitted to the door card. It's slotted in here, and now time to refit the screw on the right hand side there. Okay, it's yet another day, a very sunny day, and it's very early on a Sunday, so I'm going to keep this pretty low so I don't wake everybody while I narrate this video. Time to refit the door trim, and possibly the most difficult part is relocating the top edge of it in this groove here, especially the plastic here. So I'm going to put some, I don't know what I'm going to use yet, maybe red rubber grease or something in here to help that slide in. This bit isn't so much of a problem, it's the plastic that around this bit that's the devil. Naturally I'll need to reconnect these speaker wires and also pass this wire-in lumen connector here for the mirror switch. The only downside of using this stuff is that I can't stand the smell of it, and technically I'm going to be importing this into my car, so hopefully it doesn't smell too bad. I'm only going as far as here because this bit here isn't so difficult to insert into the groove, and I don't really want red rubber grease in this part here because the part of the door trim that pushes in here is actually cardboard. I don't really want anything to soak into that cardboard and soften it. That's all prepared in there. And then pop these connectors back in here. Pass this wire through here. This wire has a constant tendency to want to disappear off through there again, so I'm just going to reconnect this. Like that. And that stops it from disappearing. We need to feed the locking plunger through here. And now we can go about relocating this in this groove. It's actually easier with the window down. Push in and down, in and down. And we just bring that seal back into its correct position. Now I cannot stress enough that the presence of the red rubber grease in that groove where that plastic enters is game changing, because I tried it off camera and it's so difficult to get that in there because it just doesn't slide and it snags on the rubber. Red rubber grease seems to be the solution. I had to shift this across to the right very slightly to get everything to line up, and there is movement there. And now I can relocate the clips and snap them home. Three, four. Just a little bit of work required for this seal to get that over top of there, as it should be, like that. So that takes a little turn there around that, and we're done, and that's neat. Refit this T20 screw, which lines up beautifully. That cap's on order. I'll refit that at a later date. That screw's on order. Likewise, that will be fitted later, and I'll leave this out. It's far easier to remove that when the door trim's off and you can get to it from the other side. And now for the moment of truth. Have I resolved the alignment issue? That's a yes. Now looking across the top here, you can see the line where this seal used to be. And I think this was pushed in here too far, which had the effect of pushing down on this and removing the clearance at the top edge here, which made it impossible to locate the two top pegs. So that's as far as we go with this video today. Those two parts are due in early in the week and I'll get those fitted. I'm particularly impressed with this speaker grille. Doesn't that look better? But it does make the one on the passenger side look really scruffy. Well, that's it for this one. Unfortunately, I missed our Friday 5 PM rendezvous, but this is due to working some very long hours. I've had some near enough 12-hour days door to door. And it does get dark very early in the evening now at this time of the year, so it can make it a little bit more tricky. But I'll be bringing you more videos on this car, lots more to come. We've got that wiring loom in the boot, and we've also got the manual transmission fluid change. In fact, while I was filming, I had a delivery. Right here we have 2 litres of Manol 75W80 GL4, and this is in line with the requirements for this gearbox. You'll be seeing this very soon. As always, thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe, and I'll see you again in another one very soon.